Twin flames, that deep soul connection between two individuals who are mirroring reflections of each other. It is a sacred covenant, and many people speak about twin flames, although it's not in the full context. A lot of people are not meeting their twin flames. Meeting a twin flame is for very few individuals, and some people might not ever get to meet them. So twin flame is all about spiritual agreement. It is a contract that was made before they come into this physical plane. It's one of the most intense connections and a destined connection. It's very, very deeply personal and extremely complex because the connection is really magnetically intense. So whether you like to break it, unfortunately, it's not up to the person, because that deep and intense connection goes beyond a typical romance or a soulmate type of relationship. There's a deep mirror reflection of each other where both parties get to see themselves in the other person. And this connection brings about a lot of heightened emotions, and probably emotions that were never felt before on this physical plane. They lead you to a very deep spiritual awakening, and you get to have a very profound transformation, a very major transformation. So when you get to meet that person, you can recognize them, not just at a physical level, but at a soul level. You've got a sense of familiarity with that person, even if you just met in this physical reality. When you meet that person, the way you recognize them, it can actually trigger a lot of emotions, and that person can make you have a feeling of being home, and that further adds to how complex that relationship can be. These connections come as catalysts in order to bring a person to a lot of healing and a lot of growth from this current lifetime. Usually the most thing that twin flames come to bring you is all unresolved things from the past. So traumas. So you might not think you have, but all of us have traumas. They come to show you all of your patterns that need to be addressed and they need to be healed. And the process is one of the most challenging things that can happen to an individual, because it's quite excruciating, as both parties need to confront their shadows and they have to undergo the most extreme personal transformation. So they trigger one another. So they are a reflection of each other's strengths and their weaknesses and all the unresolved stuff that they come along with. And unfortunately, this triggering and this mirroring leads a lot of twin flames to very heavy emotional triggers, and there's lots of challenges, and they see that person through that reflection. So hence why it's called the twin flame dynamic. And these triggers are excruciating and very, very painful, but yet very transformative, and they offer the opportunities for growth and self-awareness. Between them, there's usually like an interplay between the divine masculine and the feminine energies within each of the person. The journey of it all, it consists of finding balance and harmony between the two. So both parties need to find the balance between these two energies, and it's quite complex because one, they need to have a deep self-discovery and an integration, and usually these kind of dynamics, they go through different patterns of union and separation, and it leaves a lot of confusion and a lot of challenges as they are navigating. There might have been periods of being with a person that was very intense and it's a very deep tight connection, and it can follow periods of deep separation and deep distance and deep longing and all of that. And actually these cycles serve various purposes because each person has to have their individual growth. Each person needs to do their own healing, if that is, they are to be prepared in order for the deeper union to happen. These are not usually romantic relationships, so they might appear that in the beginning, because you can get to see when they've gone onto this journey, they both did have a recognition of one another, but they didn't actually get to see who each one of them is. They are both on a collective and spiritual mission, and it often involves awakening in themselves and transforming, not just on a personal level. It has to do with transforming and awakening everything that surrounds their world. And this is what adds that extra layer of how complex it is for their relationship, because they're actually here to serve a greater purpose together, and usually that is to impact the lives of many people. Not all meetings of twin flames are destined to stay together. There are some rare circumstances in which they are not to be together, and usually one or the other party will know why this is happening. They might get the feelings of it, why it might not end up being for the greatest, highest good. Remember that there are exceptions to these things. Mostly twin flames might not get back together due to many different factors, such as they're both from different geographical distances, they have a lot of cultural differences, or already they might have existing commitments. So usually twin flames, when they get to meet, one party is usually committed elsewhere, so they're involved with like a marriage, or they have family obligations, and they actually create a big barrier that prevents them from being together physically, regardless if there is a deep soul connection that both are aware of. Sometimes both people, they choose to prioritize their own self-growth, and they prefer to do their individual growth and to take the life path over having that romantic relationship. And this can actually happen when one or both of them feel they have the need to focus on their personal healing, their spiritual development, or maybe they will be pursuing different goals that do not align with being in a romantic partnership at that time. Most of the times there's lots of unresolved issues and both parties do not align, so that makes it even more incredibly intense and really challenging, because if there are emotional things and conflicts or a fundamental misalignment of values, both parties unconsciously may decide not to be together in order to prioritize their own well-being and to avoid further harm either to one or the other person. They might have different soul purposes. They may have different missions in life, and they may need to focus on their individual missions on earth, which could involve serving humanity in different ways or pursuing spiritual work separately.